Hello and welcome to the D2C podcast. I'm Eric Dick, and today we are going to the heart of the concept of scaling with influencer and creator marketing. And we have brought on a true veteran, Mac Enright from Lumanu, who has been on sort of the front lines of this space since very early on in its inception. I remember very, very early in 2018 putting on an event, I think in Bangkok at the time, and it was an announcement of this new concept of influencer whitelisting and how you could actually advertise through influencers' handles and scale using this new technique. We're now 3 or 4 years in on this. I wanted to just start, by Mac, about what are some of the biggest wins that you've seen from people and brands who've used this sort of style of influencer marketing whitelisting?
Yeah, so when talking about influencer marketing as a whole, it's kind of the 1.0 version, which is just having creators post on, a sponsored post for your brand. It is traditionally seen as a brand awareness channel. You can't always have a CTA in the post of, buy now, shop now with an organic creator post. So really what it's been about in the past is just getting your brand name in front of this creator's audience. So really what whitelisting allows brands to do is turn that brand awareness channel of influencer marketing into a direct response, conversion driving channel. So some of the biggest wins that we've seen, we actually have a case study published on Facebook about this with one of our clients, Mizzen, Maine. They were able to achieve 3x greater return on ad spend with influencer ads, whitelisted ads, than their traditional brand ads that they were running from their brand handles. And the other great thing about whitelisting is it's very easy to get all of that content that creators are creating for you through your influencer marketing channel. That's just kind of sitting there organically and at your fingertips, but it's been very difficult to repurpose into an ad, say on Facebook, Instagram. So really what brands do is they're able to just very easily turn that into ads, grab that content, run it as an ad, and not only do that, but put it in, say a creator posts an Instagram image. When you're whitelisting, a brand can turn that into an Instagram ad plus, a audience network ad plus Facebook ad, really use as many placements as possible. And that's obviously being a Facebook best practice. It applies to influencer whitelisting as well, and that's where you kind of start seeing the greater return.
Across the board, we talk about it, every other week or so on this podcast, but this just user-generated, authentic, influencer creator-focused world of content is really what's driving results. As Instagram announces, it's going the way of the TikTok in terms of live video. It's just another sort of signpost that this content is the way to invest. And then what you guys do at Lumanu is you really focus on allowing people to take it to that next level where you're actually advertising directly through these users' handles, and that is what you're saying is seeing a 3x return from other channels. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then combining the influencer creative with I think we'll get into it a little bit more, but creating influencer audiences as well in your ad account and using those and combining them with influencer ads, brand ads. It's where you really start to see the power really come through.
Very cool. So what do you think is the biggest thing that stops people from doing sort of influencer whitelisting? Is it just a mental hurdle that you sort of have to have these conversations where you're going to start advertising through their handle? I know you guys have built this business on this idea of making the whitelisting component as painless as possible. So what are you running into in terms of why people aren't doing this?
Yeah, for the most part, brand will try it once. Manually whitelisting, so working with a creator to set up their business manager, get their advertising permissions. And it is a humongous pain trying to walk a creator through the business manager who might not be so savvy navigating that tool because it is kind of a monster. And going through the process of even talking through okay, no, these are the permissions that you're giving me. It's just advertising permissions. I'm not going to be able to post about my day on your organic timeline, things like that. And having that conversation with a creator, especially in the early days where whitelisting was very new, of saying hey, we want to get access to your handle so we can run ads from that, it can be a kind of scary conversation to have with a creator, because they might be like, whoa, no, there's no way I'm giving you access to my handle. And then it could kind of compromise the relationship with the creator, which obviously no brand wants. But really the biggest pain comes in where the influencer agrees to grant you advertising permissions, and then it is a 3-week process to try to figure out, are my Instagram and Facebook pages linked properly? What permissions am I getting you? Like, how do I set up a business manager? Those are really the main blockers for brands when trying to work with creators on whitelisting. And honestly, it's why we developed our automated whitelisting tool at Lumanu. We saw that as a major pain point. We saw it as an opportunity for brands and media buyers to really scale and drive up influencer marketing ROI. So we thought, hey, let's solve that, and we did with our automated whitelisting solution.
Very cool. So, I think most of our brands who listen are using UGC. If they're not, they need to start with some EGC maybe and evolve from there, get some employee generated content and get it going.
Yep.
Test it in your funnels. But when does a tool like yours really come into play for entrepreneurs who want to scale their biz?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you made a good point of just, starting with trying out some of this more, what we'll say, like lifestyle content of a person rather than just a shot of a product, person using the product, person talking about the product, whatever it might be. And that you can do right when you're starting your influencer marketing program. Say you're working with, 2 or 3 influencers and you think, okay, this content's pretty sick. Like, I want to turn this into an ad and I want to run it on Instagram stories and in feed in multiple placements. Start out by manually whitelisting that one influencer and just seeing how it works for you. But really, when the power of whitelisting comes is when you're doing it at scale. So say when you're working, we typically say when you're working with about, want to whitelist, 6+ influencers a month, that's when Lumanu really starts making sense. You're able to get all of these influencer ad permissions in bulk. And like we'll kind of talk about some best practices too, I'm sure, but that's when you really start to see the ROI of influencer marketing, is when you're working with that many creators and you have all of these different scalable strategies that you can plug into your ads account.
I love it. Well, then let's back up and dig that out a little bit. That's what it looks like when you're humming at scale. You've got 6 of these things going. You've got probably millions a month of ad spend going through these. Or what do you think? Hundreds of thousands, millions, whatever, depending on your scale. Yeah. What do you consider the scale of like your top end clients?
Yeah. Top end, we'll have, we kind of like to break it down somewhat in like percentage of your media spend to influencer advertising. So when you're starting off, brands will allocate, 10 to 20% of their paid media monthly budget to influencer whitelisting. That's running ads from creator handles, using influencer audiences, all of that good stuff. Our top brands will literally run millions and millions, up to 90% of their paid media budget just on creators. They're working with, 20 whitelisted influencers a month, and they're all using them all in different ad sets, getting that brand exposure out from this creator and that creator and this creator. Every one of person in their audience is seeing a new ad for their brand from a different creator's handle. And that's really, really powerful too, right? You kind of think that you have this audience that you've been targeting with your brand ad, and they're just like the same crap over and over of here's your product image, here's your brand handle. But then you get that audience member now seeing an ad from, Aaron Rodgers, and then seeing an ad from, all these different influencers talking about your brand. It really starts to build in that brand awareness and trust, and gets more people to think, okay, I keep seeing this everywhere. It's not the same thing over. It's still fresh. All right, maybe I'll check it out this time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's no, you don't need to tell me on the power of this kind of marketing. It's definitely something our audience is fully aware of. But in terms of best practices, then, what are some of the best practices that you see brands who are able to get to this scale and operate out and see this much success? Give us some of those best practices.
Totally. Yeah, there are a couple that I want to hit on right off the bat. So the first one is, and I've kind of mentioned this before, when you are running ads from a creator's handle, you say a creator posts an Instagram in-feed image for you organically. That's their sponsored post. Just because they posted it as an in-feed post doesn't mean that when you're running it as an ad, when you're whitelisting, it doesn't mean that you have to use it in that same placement. Turn on Facebook's auto placements, or figure out whatever placement is working best for you. Repurpose that creator's content in those other channels. Turn it into an Instagram story. Use the asset customization tool. Add some overlay text, buttons. You can obviously attach the CTA. Really play around with that creator content and see what works best for you.
That's awesome. And sorry, is that in whitelisting or in your own accounts or both?
Yeah, so that would be done right in your own ad account. So once you have the whitelisting access by getting the creator's ad permissions, you can just hop in there and create all of those ads.
And I guess the beauty of a platform is that you handle all the permissions at once. It's not an ongoing conversation to be like, okay, can we whitelist? Okay, can we reuse this content? It's kind of that's sort of permission is granted all at once, it sounds like.
Totally. Yep. That is exactly right. So our software, you just send out a link to as many creators as you want. They accept, they give you their ad permissions. You can have, different dates of how long you can use it. Is it in perpetuity? Is it, 30 days? You can see all of that good stuff too. Share assets, everything with whitelisting.
Very cool. Any other sort of best practices that you recommend?
Yeah, totally. The biggest one by far that actually a lot of people don't think about when you think about influencer whitelisting is when you whitelist a creator, you get access to their handle to create audiences. That's these audiences that are people who have engaged with the creator's Instagram or Facebook page in the past up to 180 days that you can create right in your own audience manager. Obviously with a couple of the iOS changes, the smaller custom audiences maybe not the most scalable right now. So the great thing that comes in there is being able to create lookalike audiences as well from these creator handles. That's becoming way more and more mainstream and powerful for brands that are using, Lumanu. We're seeing our clients do this more and more of creating broader and broader lookalike audiences as Facebook's, they're having to kind of shrink because of the opt-outs, the size of audiences. So that becomes an extremely powerful tool for advertisers.
So, Mac, you've given us a few best practices for influencer marketing, but I know you guys, as I said in the intro, you're literally on the cutting edge of kind of what's happening in this space. What are some of the new things that people are doing to make influencer marketing work even better?
Yeah, so one really cool tactic that one of our clients who whitelists a ton of influencers, they were just telling us that what they do is they use Lumanu, so they send their link out to their creators, and they get all of the advertising permissions from those creators in bulk, even before they have the creator post organically. Because what they do is once they have all the advertising permissions from their creators, they'll hop into their ad account in their audience manager, and they'll create engagement audiences from those creator profiles. And they'll target those creator engagement audiences with their own brand ads from their brand handles. So really, the thinking there is that they're actually getting some brand awareness and some brand exposure to the creator's audience even before they post the sponsored content for the brand. So when the creator posts that sponsored content organically, their audience, that creator's audience, already has some familiarity with the brand because they've seen some ads served from that brand's handle.
Little inception going on there.
Yes, kind of crazy, but we get all the cool tactics from our clients that are whitelisting at scale, so it's fun to share stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that it makes a ton of sense, and it's funny when you hear people say that, like, "Oh, I saw an ad for something I was thinking about," or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like it could be the big AI, it could be, or it just could be smart marketers,
Smart marketing, yes. Yeah.
pre-framing you for life enriching e-commerce products.
Totally.
Very cool. So I think we got cut off a little bit back there when we were talking about audiences. But what I'm understanding is just how valuable it is in these relationships where you actually get access to these influencers' audiences, allowing you to go much broader with your targeting, but still kind of staying anchored to to your target avatar, essentially your target consumer. What are people doing? Once you do you only have access to that audience for as long as you have the whitelisting relationship with the influencer engaged? That must be the case, right?
Correct. Yeah. So you get the influencer's advertising permissions, and then until you have the permissions to, as long as you have the permissions, the advertising permissions to that brand, that creator's handle, then you're able to create those audiences. Eventually, if the creator disconnects or breaks something, those audience will kind of expire as we move toward that. If you created it in the past 180 days, etc. So they will kind of dwindle. But one best practice there that I kind of was talking about before was being able to create lookalike audiences from those creator handles. So with whitelisting and with whitelisting through Lumanu at scale, you're able to create influencer audiences right in your own audience manager. So you essentially own those audiences in your own specific ad account. And in turn, since you own those audiences, you can create those lookalike audiences. And as you know, with Facebook iOS changes, they're really emphasizing targeting broader audiences. Every media buyer talking to their Facebook rep or their media buying friend is talking about, how far can you push it on the percent of lookalikes right now? We have some clients, creating 10% lookalikes from influencer engagement audiences that they've created through whitelisting, and seeing a lot of success with those. And another thing I was kind of would love to touch on is just like how Facebook is putting more of an emphasis on creative optimization as opposed to ad set optimization. So you hear Facebook coming out with these articles that are saying consolidate your ad sets, target a broader audience, don't rely as much on specific custom smaller targeting, go bigger, use broad audiences. And in turn, when you're consolidating those ad sets, Facebook is now suggesting, okay, since there's not as much optimization that will happen on the ad set level, if you consolidate, what you want to do is move that optimization further down to the ad level, to the creative level. And that's another really powerful opportunity to get in there with whitelisting, is turning at scale creator content into Facebook and Instagram ads, and just very easily repurposing all of that content that your creators have already created for you, and just plugging those into Ads Manager in different ad sets and letting them kind of compete against each other, and let Facebook find the top performing creative, and really get you the best results for your ad set and your campaigns.
That's really interesting. I think about TikTok a lot lately, just because it's in front of my face quite often these days. And that model of its version of advertising versus Facebook, where you're interacting with different pages and groups and things like that. This is just this video model where it's like your interaction with these videos determines the data that it has about you, and this is kind of allowing Facebook to operate in the same way in some ways, right?
Right.
Where it's literally just taking that creative and cycling it through to find what you react to.
Exactly. Yeah. Facebook also just does a great job of, if you say you have two creator audiences in an ad set, if the first one doesn't resonate with your audience, they might show that second ad set, and maybe it's from a different creator's handle, and then that creator is the one that gets them to convert. So it's not just like if your audience sees one ad, they won't see the second one. Facebook's optimization and their algorithm does a fantastic job of knowing whether they should show a different ad within that ad set, and especially when you're using different influencer handles, that could be enough of a change to get your audience member to say, like, okay, actually, this is kind of cool. It's this creator talking about this brand. I might check them out now.
Nice. Okay, so we talked, even just the influencer ecosystem is so interesting. What are the things that Lumanu doesn't do?
Yes, we To be very, transparent, we don't do any influencer discovery. So we partner with any influencer agency, any influencer platform. We have a fantastic partnership and an integration with Grin, actually, which is an influencer platform. They do fantastic work. Their team is amazing. Their technology is incredible. Really great for brands that have that team that want to scale whitelisting as well. So we integrate with them, but we are fully compatible, and we work with any influencer platform, any influencer agency. So really, that discovery tool is not something that Lumanu, has for an offering.
I love it. We're talking about the whitelisting being this, amazing hurdle that a lot of people have trouble getting over that Lumanu kind of solves. But what's the other major aspect of your tool that really comes into play when you're scaling with multiple new influencers a week?
Yeah, so we recently released a new payments tool, actually, which allows brands to pay their creators at scale. So when you use our payments platform, we're a certified third-party settlement organization. So really what that means is we're kind of like, imagine a PayPal, where when you pay someone through PayPal, you don't need to handle all the tax obligations, get 1099s, W-9s, all of that good stuff. From your creators. We operate in the same way, where we actually have a dashboard where brands can pay all of their creators in bulk. It's literally just once you get your creator onboarded, which is the same simple process as our whitelisting service. You get a dashboard, click, 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 able to send payment right to creators. You don't need to get those that handle all that tax obligations that you typically would. And we also don't have fees for creators, which obviously creators love. We waive all of those. So yeah, it's a real simple tool that just helps brands, again, scale their most pain points of an influencer marketing campaign.
Very cool. So were there any other benefits you wanted to touch on for why Lumanu is a great tool?
Yeah, it really, we've said this word over and over again, but it really comes down to scale, right? So if you're working with 6+ influencers a month and you really want to start whitelisting, or even if you know the headache and you're just like, I can't deal with this. Always use our service. We automate it from end to end. And really the thing about Lumanu that I will never stop talking about is our incredible client experience team. We've been in the influencer advertising and whitelisting game since the beginning. So, and we've essentially had our team since the beginning as well. So they know all of the ways to get around any issue that a creator would have when granting those advertising whitelisting permissions. A lot of our CX members as well are very experienced in some of those ad buying best practices through creator handles that I mentioned earlier. They'll get on calls to make sure that you're working with your influencers properly, buying ads properly, and if you have any questions, we really just take every part of the process off of your plate and want to make sure that you're seeing the best results possible with whitelisting.
And what's cool also that I've noticed you guys from the beginning, because when I was really trying to just understand whitelisting myself, I remember like Googling it and finding a lot of your content. So we're talking to those in the audience who really want to scale their businesses. But if you're not in that stage quite yet, the Lumanu Blog, I got to say, is an incredible resource hub for figuring out how to do this stuff on your own, which I think is a cool part of your strategy in the space to bring that kind of education.
Thank you. Yeah, we actually take a lot of pride in our blog, and we're not just, always plugging our tool like I probably have done so much on this call already, but helping people just, get started with whitelisting because we want them to see success. So we have a couple of our best practices out there on our blog. Different ways to manually whitelist if you just want to get started, different ways to, help pitch it to your influencers, anything that you need, you could hop on our blog and just search around there and you'll find it.
Very cool. Well, Mac, I want to thank you very much for coming on the D2C podcast today. I know that this has been it's been on the salesy side, but at the same time, you guys, you're operating in a very niche place where I just really understand the benefit of your tool to a niche part of our audience, and then to the rest. I think you guys, like I say, you offer information that can kind of help everyone. So yeah, thanks again, man. I think this is super interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm hoping that some of the best practices of just kind of getting started with whitelisting were helpful for some of the folks listening. So yeah, happy to be on.
Nice.
Thanks so much for having us.
We'll have to have you back on to talk about the future of influencer marketing on an upcoming date, because that would be interesting to get into too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, Mac.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at direct-to-consumer, all one word, .co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.